No central bank has put the motive or drive for why central banks own gold bullion reserves better than the Dutch National Bank did in 2019, stating, quote, "Stocks, bonds, and other securities, there's risk in everything. If the whole system collapses, the gold stock provides collateral to start over. Gold gives confidence in the strength of central banks' balance sheets."
So the big development in the theater of economic warfare is that there is quite a bit of speculation at the moment that Russia is about to default on its sovereign debt. And this seems like quite a predictable outcome for a country that is in Russia's predicament. Here's a chart from tradingeconomics.com that shows Russia's foreign currency reserves, and this is measured in billions of dollars on this chart. You can see that at the start of this year, Russia had over $500 billion worth of foreign currency. But of course now, the vast majority of those foreign currency reserves have been frozen by sanctions.
But to really understand what's going on here, again, we have to follow the money. And I'm not saying this is the true reason, but I'm saying this is something for you to consider around this whole conflict as to what could be a contributing factor. So let's go to the shared screen now then. So I want to start with this chart here then, which shows the Russian trade surplus since 2001 to 2021. So this is mainly focusing on energy here, so oil, gas, other exports, etc. Russia, so the USA actually had a deficit last year, the largest ever on record, of over $1 trillion. So that means the US was spending more on imports than it was receiving on its exports, to the financial figure of $1 trillion, a huge amount. Russia, on the other hand, had a surplus last year. Now, let's look at the next point. This is major foreign holders of US Treasury securities as of September 2001. If you're not familiar, these are bonds that are issued by the US government, and they're purchased by anyone from foreign governments, right, which go into foreign central banks, right through to the Federal Reserve may buy these treasuries. And we can see who the biggest holders are of this debt then. Japan is the largest with 1.3 trillion. China, 1 trillion. The United Kingdom, 566 billion. And you can see how this goes down. Now, very interesting. Look, where is Russia on here? Where is Russia? Yeah, you can't see it. Why? Because this is what Russia has done. Russia dropped or dumped its US Treasury holdings, and this started in March of 2018. So that's a Reuters article, but let me just show you. This is also on CNBC. If anyone says, oh yes, but that's biased, it's an Eastern article. Well, here's CNBC, an American media company, talking about it. Treasury data shows Russian holdings of US debt plunged by 84% since that was March of 2018. Okay, so this is what you really need to look at. Why is Russia dumping its US treasuries? Why has it been doing it? And what has it been doing instead? Well, Russia has been on a buying spree purchasing gold.
Watching my recent videos, you know that I've mentioned how many in the West have been celebrating the economic ruin of Russia as a result of these sanctions. I've seen memes going around about how worthless the ruble has become, and at the same time, those same people who live in Western nations believe, quite incorrectly in my opinion, that they are somehow immune to the consequences of these economic sanctions. Well, we saw earlier this week with that massive short squeeze in the price of nickel that there are far-reaching consequences of this economic
Turning now to major central banks who have been increasingly buying gold reserves to the tune of over 5,500 metric tons since the 2008 global financial crisis, illustrated to them point blank that the structural underpinnings of our fiat financialization era are not all that sound. Perhaps no central bank has put the motive or drive for why central banks own gold bullion reserves better than the Dutch National Bank did in 2019, stating, quote, "Stocks, bonds, and other securities, there's risk in everything. If the whole system collapses, the gold stock provides collateral to start over. Gold gives confidence in the strength of central banks' balance sheets." Well, judging by how much central bank balance sheet expansionism has gone on since the pandemic kicked off in early 2020, central banks are going to likely need much higher gold prices to restore confidence in the strength of their ballooning balance sheets and high inflationary, negative, real yield bond market regimes. This week, Brent Johnson of Santiago Capital published his update to global G8, Swiss, and Chinese fiat currency issuances versus their official gold reserves, I took the time to go back and pull up one of his early 2018 updates to get a sense of the crazy fiat currency expansionism that's gone on globally in just the last less than 4 years covered here. We're going to use this data set to take a world tour in getting a sense of just how undervalued the major economies of the world's official gold reserves are currently compared to their massively expanded fiat currency bases of late. We'll begin with the two largest outliers in this data set. First, we start with no official gold reserve owning Canada. We'll put their last 4 years of fiat currency creation into fiat US dollar terms, as well as any of the other nations that we cover here. Our neighbors to the north blew out their fiat M0 pile by a 4.5 multiple over the last 4 years. Again, this is the lone G8 nation that owns no official gold reserves. Moving onward now to the most staunch official gold reserve stacker on the list officially, the Russian Federation currently has over 73 million ounces of gold bullion in reserves. The nation is also on the cusp of becoming the world's largest gold producer this decade. Officially, the Russian Federation currently has over 73 million ounces of gold bullion in reserves. The nation is also on the cusp of becoming the world's largest gold producer this decade. The world's largest gold producer this decade. The world's largest gold producer this decade. The world's largest gold producer this decade.
Would you rather have paper or gold?